Halito, y'all. It's Red Hoop. I'm Jennifer Robin, and on this month's Red Hoop Talk, we have a very, very special guest, the one, the only musician, actor, comedian, everyone's uncle, Gary Farmer. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Keno. Spagwego, negação hyantos.
So, Gary, I have a lot of questions for you
Oh boy.
because there I don't watch necessarily every native movie or TV show with native topics because some of them make me feel just weird or gross. And
Hmm.
I've noticed with you, I I feel good in some of the programs and movies that you do. They don't leave me feeling like they just made that guy a token.
Hmm.
So thank you for that. But do you have a role in that? Like, do you kind of either give feedback for the project or pick roles that depict Native Americans as normal, awesome people?
Well, after 50 years of doing it, I think everyone knows how Gary is, right? So uh, he was always a very challenging character to hire. And, a lot of it had to do with maintaining some kind of integrity for the people, right? Because I was always representing necessarily, and I spoke out to be an Indian, right, or whatever you want to call me now. We still, I guess that's a political incorrect way to describe myself, but that's how I grew up, and that's who we are. I guess it's like black folks saying the N word to each other, like that's even though it's somewhat derogatory, I guess, but it's not to us. But I was always represented, and I always stood up. I could have, like a lot of actors did. Someone in particular I think of is James Gardner, or even Robbie Robertson. He one of his famous quotes was, "You got to be careful who you tell." Right. So I never did that. Sometimes I did get cast as a regular guy, and and it's a lot easier playing a regular guy on TV than it is being and representing your own people or other tribes. There's 1,200 tribes in North America alone. Well, more than that, 1,800, 2,000 if you include Mexico. But so, I took a certain responsibility for that as a career. And it cost me work at some level. I don't know. That's all right, though. I survived. Jennifer, what happened to you? Um, okay, Jennifer's frozen. I don't know if I'm frozen or not, but Jennifer's frozen, and I'm the guy now. So, hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I wanted to say a few things while I got you on alone here. On Facebook, I was very prolific on Facebook. I had three, I think we're live on Facebook today. I had three sites. I don't know why, but I did. I wanted to have original friends, not just people who were fans to have to be sitting aside. So I had three sites on Facebook, which gave me about 15,000 friends, original. And I got corrupted on Facebook, and I got very discouraged with its methodology of maintaining its site. And so I'm no longer on Facebook. So it's nice to see anyone that's there that lost me because I stepped aside. And when I stepped aside because of the impersonation issue that's going down, that seems to be rampant these days with anyone of note, and just anyone can be impersonated, I guess. But they really targeted me, several different factors or fashions. And so, I'm not there. And if you see me there in any form, whether it's be Gary Troublemaker, which is the name of my band, Gary Farmer and the Troublemakers, Anyway, I just wanted to clear the way for Facebook fans to realize that I'm not there. So if someone's trying to friend you and it's me, it's not me there. And they found out a bunch of stuff about me, and they tried to exploit that for cash. So don't fall for their ploys, please.
Well, it's it's one of those sad things that you get internet famous
All right, of
and
course.
they come for you. So part of you should be like, yes, I'm that cool.
But
But
if you don't stay with it, then there's nothing you can do about it, right?
yes.
If I'm not Gary Farmer on Facebook, I can't necessarily go around saying, well, that I can't challenge that because I'm not there. And they say, well, impersonating who? Well, you got to be there to be impersonated. So I just couldn't deal with it all. So I stepped aside.
Well, I'm almost there. It's just measuring success based on a bunch of strangers. I'd rather measure success by the connections and impact in my community and in my family. Or
Yeah, for sure. And I probably was too ambitious. I was on Facebook in the beginning. So it's really kind of got warped a bit in its elder age. And even though IG is not much different, it's the same platform, isn't it? For the most part, Meta.
yes.
That's a scary term to me, Meta. I don't even know. I don't know. It just scares me, right?
Well, again, like I told you before, I was one of those when the internet came out that said it's not gonna last.
Right.
But I also don't do a lot of internet because I know that everything you do will live forever on the internet.
Right.
So most of my indiscretions are not online. Thank you.
You know what I found out also for those fans out there is that we think about you know artificial intelligence a lot these days, and a lot of people use it for good reasons. But if you look up me, it's nothing more than what Wikipedia knows, right? So
Ooh.
I started to do a little bit more research and realized that AI doesn't know nothing about us that much. Because, well, from my community, for instance, all of our ceremonial life is very privatized, right? It's not written in a book. It's carried on with oral tradition for like, let me see, about 13,000 years now, minimum, and they don't know about it. AI doesn't know about it, right? So I think that's great that they don't know about us that much.
Yes. That's and I want to keep it that way. So I
Yeah,
I like that the majority of who we are is not recorded or not this or not that or
well, they
not.
don't care. I mean, it's also that factor.
Yes.
Yeah, which is cool. Don't care. That's all right.
But also too who we are, we teach and learn in person. I'm a seamstress. I'll never make an instructional video because I learned in person and anybody can learn from me in person. It's so weird. But then I complain like this, but it gets us together and gets us shared with the wider audience.
Yeah.
So I'm just that middle-aged mad about all of it.
Tell me more about the Red Hoop Talk, though, but especially about the organization that sponsors our event today.
Well, the Association on American Indian Affairs is a 100 plus year old nonprofit supporting keeping culture and indigenous traditions alive. So, indian-affairs.org. And throughout this, we have a few little promos that we toss in. But the point, the little hashtag close to culture. And I think that you stand out so much to me because, I've been in broadcasting 15 years. So I've rubbed elbows with indigenous actors, but that doesn't mean they have a connection to their community, to their ceremonies, to their stories. They are Native American and they are an actor, right? So, but there's something different when, like you bring that into everything you do.
Yeah, I really try. I mean, I remember a film we did called Dead Man, opposite Johnny Depp, 95, I think it came out. It's still the only, I'm awfully proud of this, is that it's still the only American film ever to win the European Academy Award for Best Foreign Film.
Wow.
And Gandhi gave it to us. Gandhi, well, not the real Gandhi, but the actor Gandhi. Can't think of his name right now. But that was really fun. And I'm so proud of that particular thing because it stepped, you know, it's classic acid Western, I suppose you could call it, because it reversed. It's not from the white man's point of view on our Western history, the pounding down of the West and the gold finds and all of that. But it's more from a Native perspective. And I really always appreciated that and loved the filmmaker Jim Jarmusch for that effort. Unfortunately, it was never widely distributed in America because at the time, of course, the eternal bad guy for Miramax Film, I think he's in prison now, finally. I can't even think of his name, but I grew up with him as well. I mean, not personally, but he used to have this radio operations. He was a big promoter in Buffalo, New York, which is where I spent a lot of my, grammar school, high school years growing up in there in the city. Classically in urban India, but my community was only 60 miles away, and we used to race there every weekend and stay there all summer. And any holidays, we're always back on the res. And of course, there's Haudenosaunee or Iroquoian communities all around me, in Salamanca and Tonawanda and Tuscarora and the Falls, which is where I grew up as a child in Niagara Falls. So I was always attached to we got about 18 communities throughout North America. And there's a lot of questioning too, and I did want to bring that up too about the Tuscaroras in North Carolina,
Mm-hmm.
because that's always been a reality for me. I mean, they were warred on by Washington himself, early 1700s, for 10 years war. They call it the 10 years war. And after that, they came and joined the Confederacy, which would have made it 6 nations. It was only 5 original nations from the 11th century. And then the Tuscaroras joined after that conflict with America and came and joined us. And not all of them came, but those routes they took became the Underground Railroad, right? It's really that relationship between Black America and Native America is intrinsic. And none of that's been explored like dramatically or none of that stuff. So a lot of the young storytellers got some great story there. That relationship between Black America and Indian America is for real. And we worked and helped each other. I mean, why'd they go get the Africa in the first place? Whose crop did they use? They used our crop, corn. It was corn. They only grew wheats or barley, or you plant one, you get 6 or 8 seeds. You plant one corn, you get 270. That changed the economics of the whole world. And China had it within 5 years. So, I'm really proud of the Tuscarora people, and I'm part Tuscarora. And there used to be jokes in our community up in 6 Nations. If you were dark, and my grandfather was really dark, and my dad was pretty dark, and I get really dark in the summer, And they'd always say, "Oh, you must be Tuscarora, right?" Because certainly was more Black Indian blood mix from the south, than up our way, and Ontario and in Quebec and in New York State and Wisconsin when the Oneidas went over there, and of course the Cayugas and the Senecas are down in Oklahoma, and that's all part of our trading route all the way down to Central America, because we did really follow that eagle all the way down to the condor, and that's I was always impressed doing some research, like even down in Zuni, New Mexico, which is where the conquistadors first met indigenous people up this way anyway. They were growing 200 varieties of beans. 200 varieties of beans. It's hard
Wow.
for us to find a garden there anymore, you know. And so that it shows you what prolific farmers. And of course, those beans were mainstay of culture for us. I mean, a lot of Americans look at it like poor people's food, but that's all the protein you need,
Yep.
in hard
Pretty much.
times. I'll let you get
Well,
a word in.
no, it's that is storytelling. We are learning here, and that's what makes you awesome. You're not just running around saying, I'm a big Indian man, right?
I'm
You're carrying
smaller now.
cultures
I'm a
and
little smaller.
traditions. And, being Choctaw, Mississippi Choctaw, when slaves, if they were able to cross the Mississippi River into our territory, we take them in.
Right,
So having those influences mean like we're probably some of the only tribes that got a good healthy backside, ain't nothing flat about us because I got a little bit of curly hair,
right.
So
Yeah,
and for some reason, and then wasn't it too like, I can't cite all the sources, but wasn't it like if you were native, in the Dawes Roll era, like if you had a quote unquote drop of Negro blood, right, you couldn't even be enrolled.
right. There was a lot of animosity of it or whatever,
Yes.
prejudice. But what fascinated me too is down in your region there, especially around, you say Cajun, right? That word Cajun,
Yeah.
Cajun food, Cajun this, Cajun that, and even that whole jump up, when they do the big celebration before Lent, uh, and all the dance, Mardi Gras, for instance, in New Orleans. That whole Cajun is actually, in my research, is Canadian Indian Cajun,
Oh.
because that they, from all the way up to Halifax, all the way down to New Orleans, that shipping route. There's a lot of black, people moved up to Nova Scotia. There's a strong black community, black Indian community in Nova Scotia and in New Orleans, right? And that was that all that stealing of people and trying to make them slaves, but it didn't always work. People resisted. A lot
Yeah.
of people resisted. I mean, I don't know how the Tuscaroras resisted. I mean, why didn't they enslave natives? I mean, I guess we didn't make good slaves. We weren't about to do all that labor, and they, but anyway, there's some great new history, even on the journey of African slavery back into the United States and how long it took and how many people died, millions of people. And there's never been any recognition, not only of our own indigenous people, which we lost close to 50 to 100 million people as they came and so-called founded America. It's there's so much history there that's being covered up, especially now in this particular political environment.
But and that's why too they say, the slave descendants and the First Nation descendants, we should all get over it. Why are you still mad? Get
Who's mad?
over it.
We're not mad. I mean, I'm not mad about it. It's
Well, that
reality, right? I mean, they just don't talk about it, and they should recognize that. I mean, you even go to Charleston, North Carolina, or South Carolina, where most of the slavery came in. They still got the slave barns, the slave places where they sold slaves right in the city, and it's a farmer's market. Like they don't even recognize that. I mean, Mom, because they're still trying to make that real, right? Like now, more especially than not, which is it's just all fear, just fear of losing the grip on, the egotistical economic platforms that we have to live under.
yes, but we don't have to submit and necessarily 100% abide by. That's
No,
why I love us. That's why we got our reservations to run to. We got our own secret tribal arm. Like, I don't know. I guess in all this chaos, it makes me feel good and feel safer that I am part of a nation, right?
right.
That would not bend or yield, or I come from people that didn't yield to.
Well, even my people, they went and sided with the British in Canada, right? I mean, we were basically the Viet Cong during the War of 1812, right? I mean, if it wasn't for us, the British were still marching up and down with their things, and they didn't. We were forest fighters, right? We knew the forest, we knew the land, and if it wasn't for us, I always say there wouldn't even be a Canada, which is kind of a graceland for much of Americans when they want to run away. When they want to run away to Vietnam. I was stateside during the draft. If my number was pulled, I lost a first cousin who joined the Marines at 17, and he died within 6 months over there. I probably would have went back home, but I stood steady. I've been working stateside since I was 13 years old. So, that border is ridiculous to me. It doesn't even exist. Neither does the one between the United States and Mexico,
Yep.
because those are all classically indigenous people, except the ones that were colonized by the Spanish, of course. But yeah, it's a big, beautiful world for us as indigenous people in North America. And unfortunately, they just didn't. I wish they would, because America is really part Indian. Most Americans have, I don't know how many people I meet, they always still seem to pick Cherokee for some reason, but their grandmother was always Cherokee or something. But all that tells me is that, well, maybe it wasn't Cherokee, right? But maybe it was something other tribe. There's 600 of them in this vicinity here. Could have been any tribe, but Cherokee became the one everyone alluded to. And sometimes I laugh at that with Wesley, because he's Cherokee. And yes, when I say, "Oh, my singer is Cherokee," he goes, "Oh yeah."
That's why I always put Choctaw first. No, I'm picking, but like, okay, so humans were going to travel. The boats
Yeah,
were built, so colonization,
migration is a big part of our life.
yes, was going to happen. It didn't happen so arrogantly, so violently, so maliciously, so lyingly. We have a lot to offer.
Yeah,
And
we
maybe
sure
if we
do.
would have started this country thinking 7 generations down the line, we wouldn't have, who's in, what offices.
Yeah. Well, we knew they were coming. We had premonition. We knew they were coming. I always tell students, because I do a lot of university speaking, we knew when they came with the cross that we're in trouble, right? Because they forgot their teaching. If they only put a circle around that cross, it would have been okay, right? But they didn't learn that. They forgot that, or they denied it because it was a paternalistic system that came by, and so we knew we were in for heck for 500 years. We knew that, and so we played it at school because there was a time, and there's a beautiful book, and I can't remember the title, but there was a time when all the tribes came together, and we could have just taken them out, right? But we chose not to. We chose not to. We accepted, history, fate, and accepted them and tried to work with them. But they just were scared. They always still live in fear today. Fear of losing control, I suppose, is their biggest fear. But then I read deeper about and listen to, Amy Goodman's one of my favorite journalists, and I often
Democracy
listen
now.
to her. And there was a journalist from Canada who, because I helped to start the Aboriginal People's Television Network, I was the one who presented the license to like the FCC, which is the CRTC in Canada. And I had such amazing ambitions to radioize, Native people in Canada right across the whole country. I had 70% of Canada by radio in the turn of the century. And I couldn't get support from everyone was bought out by oil and gas by then. And the political thing, they just wanted to exploit all the mineral wealth they have. I mean, Canada and US have been partners exploiting Central and South America for, forever, since the early 70s. Right from the time of the Industrial Revolution started, they needed stuff. And that's what's going on in Canada now. I mean, that's why Trump wanted Canada, right? Because they want all the mineral wealth in the north, right? Burn it out. That's what they're doing now. They'll burn it down so the people get out of there, and then they'll go and exploit it now. And I can see that even happening in southern New Mexico, where silver's big
Yep.
product again. And I kind of resent that they'll actually burn out the people that live there and fight to help the government, state governments, realize that this is not the way to go. But they'll just go and burn them out, then they'll be gone, and then they can go and exploit the mineral wealth in this region or that region. Exactly why the current
Yep.
administration wants to get rid of the public lands, right? Because
Yes, I'm in California, so I am a mountain girl. I'm a Sierra
yeah,
Nevada, give me granite and forest gal.
right,
And to think about logging it all down and treating the indigenous people the way that they did when they first discovered gold, like it's insane.
yeah.
It's insane to us, but this is a smart decision.
Well, they don't even need that. They need all they need is hemp, but they don't. They've been so uptight about that plant, right? But hemp is like can change the world. We can replace plastic with hemp. We can Ford built his first car out of hemp. It's stronger than steel, stronger than aluminum, stronger than any metal that they use for car making, and better than fiberglass. And we can build homes from hemp. They don't even burn. They're fireproof. If you built your home out of hemp, it's fireproof. And we really could. And that to me, that's the plant of the seventh generation. That's for the young people to exploit and to make happen. Is to take that plant and use it what it was meant for. It's got 10,000 uses
But
that
there's
were
suppression from these opposing systems.
oil and gas
Like, yeah,
primarily.
so they have so much money just to make sure that the only thing we know what to do in life is what they tell us to do.
Right. It
It's
started
insane.
back in the, back when you can literally trace it back to that film. What was that film about pot that drove you crazy? You
Reefer
know,
madness?
Reefer Madness is literally from that period on that the cotton industry, the chemical industry, the pulp and paper industry. I mean, the Constitution's out of hemp. It's not out of pulp and paper. The all of those industries they wanted hemp gone, and so they just did this whole. They're really good at twisting people's heads around about things, and did that to it. And here we are, stuck with all this pollution and cancer now because of all their industrialization. It's really
So I was raised that the chief has nothing because that means everything goes to the people, right? And
right.
it's such a contrasting perspective of I'm going to get all the money and I don't really care how you guys are. It's about me, the corporation, me, the lobbyist, me, the government. It's so like leaders. You see what I'm saying? That like I have to have everything and you get what's left over versus I have nothing because I make sure you have everything.
I know how to live on nothing. You know, I don't
I
have
prefer
anything.
it.
I don't have much. People think, oh, you're an actor, you got money, but I don't. I don't have anything. I live by the kindness of people that I love, and I own 1 acre of land on my res. My mother gave to me, and worst comes to worst, I'll just go build a little hut and freeze my ass off up there. It's not an issue for me. It never has been. I didn't become an actor because I ever thought I'd still be an actor at 72. I swear to God, I became an actor because I thought, oh, this is how I change the world. This is how I make it a little bit better for my own people. And, for the most part, I think it's kind of worked, which I'm really proud of. And to see the explosion of youth just take over the reins, even like Res Dogs, right? Like,
Yes.
and all the people from that community, all those young people that wrote, directed, acted, produced, they all got futures for the rest of their lives, right? If they want it, they got it. They got it figured out. And we got so many stories to tell Americans
Yep.
or whoever, how the exploitation, because we're living through the most exploited nation in the world. I mean, I can't say that truly because of Africa or because of Asia, what's happened to Tibet and all those countries, and or even in Europe. I mean, the it was a maternal society. A lot of those societies are indigenous societies, like the Welsh and the Welsh language. It was maternal, but that whole witch hunt that happened through that period really changed the pace of culture, and of course, religion's got its share of faults. And we've been got this beautiful film called The Doctrine. You know about the doctrine of discovery?
Yes, I had a hour-long stress
Oh,
conversation just last night about it.
oh, good. Oh, yeah. So you haven't broadcast about it much.
Oh no, this was just me driving. This had nothing to do. This is just how I talk to people in my life. We freak out about the doctrine of discovery on a random Wednesday. So,
Yeah, I helped consulting producer. I got a credit on this film called The Doctrine, and it involved Mitch Walkenelk. I don't know if you know him. Old AIM. He wasn't necessarily a leader, but he was a worker bee, and he was like a protest singer. So
yes.
he was like Floyd Westerman, who managed to survive a little longer than Floyd. And Mitch is kind of in a way, a protagonist at some level. But there's this young girl. Oh my God, she takes over. So they actually go to Rome. The film's about them going to Rome to help the bishop. And then he passed away just recently, of course. Think about the fact that they did this doctrine of discovery, the papal bulls. And it basically said that, okay, all you explorers, Mr. Columbus, Mr. De Soto, all these guys, if they're not Christians, you can do what you want with them, basically. You can kill them. You can, try to reform them. But if they don't go for it, just take them out. So,
It's God's giving you permission to take them out. God is saying,
yeah, like, come on. Give us a break, you folks. I mean, you got America. You got to know this stuff, right? You should know this, and book that film in your film festival in your local town, The Doctrine. And I'm happy to share through you the contact to find me to help you bring this film to your community and watch it, because it's a real educational for Americans to realize the bullshit that went down in order for you to be so-called free in a
how
land that
old is the
the hell
film? How
it's
old is the
1500.
film?
Well, I think it was 1513 when it started. I mean, 1492.
No, I'm asking because I remember seeing a Doctrine of Discovery film brought here, about the doctrine, but I feel like it was like 20 years ago.
No, there was one done in Canada by it didn't get a lot of play. Georgina Lightning did one, I know,
It might
who
have
is
been.
Cody Lightning. She's from Cody's Smoke Signals.
Yeah.
Hey Victor, and he's got a brand new film called Smudging the Blaze, which I can't wait to see. I'm so sorry I couldn't participate, Cody. I really wanted to, but I was caught up. Anyway, yeah.
So I feel like we need to have you review Native films every month and give us Uncle
Well,
Gary's
all those,
film reviews.
I helped to found the Santa Fe International Film Festival, and
Oh,
we have an Indigenous program, and we give grants out. We're in our 17th year. If your film plays at our festival, you qualify for an Academy Award. So, all you young filmmakers out there, all you old filmmakers out there, please consider submitting to us. I think our deadline is August 1st. It plays every October, October 15 to 20 this year. So I used to watch 2, 3, 400 films a year for this
dang.
festival. Well, we get about 5, 6,000 submissions now, and it's intense. But I got this one film I just saw, because I kind of look at the indigenous work from around the world. We try to pull indigenous stories from around the world. There's indigenous people around the world. Uh, in this marquise. Marquise are like Samoans. And, I've been thinking about this film. I watched it last night, and we usually got to write up on it, reviews, and score it, this and that. And I just sometimes I don't because, but this film affected me so much. And then I get to read all the other screeners' reviews too, and then I see, oh, well, blah blah blah. But this film stuck with me, and it's 10 minutes long. It's 11 minutes tops, and I'm so proud of it because of how well he can make films and how he can make you feel in 10 minutes, which you might feel and make you think about it for days after. When people spend a career making a feature film, to maybe do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you can make a film for 10 minutes and move you, and that film's not going to be, it's not going to, well, you can get an Academy Award for short film, but it's not going to be widely seen like something that, Scorsese did, like it's just not going to be. So I really admire young filmmakers who are making short projects as well as features and documentaries. But I was so moved by this film I watched last evening.
Okay, well, you said like here's some cool stuff to watch, but then there's like no way to watch it. So how do we change that, or how do we access a lot of these incredible just hodgepodge of world indigenous or Turtle Island indigenous media? Because
Okay,
it seems
so
like over the years, random people think they're going to do it, but things kind of fall flat. So,
well, it's all economics, right? It's all
yeah.
economics. So buying the rights, right? So, for instance, when I got the license for Aboriginal People's Television Network, I helped with the business plan. The business plan, in my view, was that signal goes down to Ecuador. All I got to do is push a button, basically. And they used to have that button unleashed, and they didn't have content because before APTN, which I don't know if you know about or not.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, APTN, it was Television Northern Canada. So it was only north of the 60th parallel, which is basically northern Manitoba, northern British Columbia, northern Alberta, Northwest Territories, you know, we used to call it Northwest Territories, but now we call it the Nunavut, the northern part, the northern part of New Brunswick. It didn't come into the south. And so when we got that license to put Television Northern Canada, but when it was Television Northern Canada, they used to let the signal go the full length all the way down to Ecuador. And we used to celebrate them still with powwows and stuff, and we'd play their content some. And they'd have like the Inuit would put like they'd put the camera on the iceberg and watch it go by, and people in Texas would respond. We love watching the icebergs float around, so it's possible. All I have to do is flip the switch, but it's buying the rights for the American audience or the Mexican audience
Interesting.
and all the Central American audiences. And it's a different language because we broadcast in French and English up there. And we should broadcast in Spanish and English in America, right? And we kind of do, but not really. But then First Nations Experience, which is the tribe out of out of all the names don't come to me as fast as they used to, but all the three sisters down there in that small tribe. It used to be only about 70 members, and they had casino success, and they built First Nations Experience. So they're starting to break into markets, but it's real slow. Whereas APTN can go all the way, cover everything. And it's just a math problem, but we haven't solved. And it should be resolved so we can have content. Because APTN, I got to say, I was a little frustrated with it because of, they never rolled it out like I assumed the business plan was. And I was very ambitious with media because I thought media impact in America, small, independent, nonprofit, FM radios, and each community, we got 600 communities, and each one, we could actually pepper the whole United States with a different point of view than commercial television, right? We think differently than commercial ideas, right? We think more, I don't want to say the word because it's a bad word in America, but it's more communal. That's the word. It's more communal based communications. And when we started APTN, we had 10, maybe 10 producers in the country. There's probably over 3,000 now. And since the turn of the century, so in 25 years, we've built that much credibility as makers of content. And it doesn't happen in America so fast. It's they've suppressed. I think there's only 30 public radio stations in all the U.S. on Native communities. 30. Now there's a lot of Native programs on NPR type stations, public radio stations, but actually operated by Native people. If there's 30, there's more public radio stations in New Zealand than there is in the United States. We got about
Yes.
maybe 300 to 400 public FM stations in Canada that are exclusively Indigenous operated.
So there's something broken with everything you're talking about here in
Well,
the United States,
Reagan
from
gave away.
APTN to the lack of stations. All that stuff is something I've been screaming into the void for
Yeah,
15 years, because we're already given a model by APTN and by a larger net of, res radios.
right.
So I don't get it. And I'm interviewing a young lady next week on this topic in general. And maybe you'll be on that phone call too, because it, and with you, I have just this drive to get all of this amazing talent out there. There's not a one person wins, there's 24 hours a day to fill. So getting all of these
Right.
incredible storytellers together, it's not a competition of I'm the most best one. It's not that. It's
No, it's
here is who
information to
we
help the people live out their lives in a good way. It's not
yes.
about economics. I mean, it is because you need money to create. Creators need some
Yes.
economy, unfortunately. You know, if we all had prolific gardens 24/7, 365 days a year, it'd be different, but we don't.
Yep.
And besides, gardening and growing food is a full time position. Creating content for television and multimedia is a full time commitment.
Yes.
And when you're trying to do both, you're going to die young, right? It's too hard, right? So you need the food provision somewhere. You need to survive in a healthy way, and that's the other thing. When you look at our diets in our communities, it's sad, and we got 60% diabetic condition in my community. 60% of my people have diabetic condition at some form or another, and it's all from the white flour, white sugar concept of that food they gave us when we're starving to death. Is they moved us around from reservation to no, that's not you anymore. You got to go west, the Trail of Tears, et cetera, right? And we've never let that go. Where fry bread, if it's made with love, okay. As Keith Secola always told us, the fry bread song, right? I mean, he makes a lot of sense with that song, and it's kept us alive, but it's killing us on the other side.
Yes. But
And it's
cutting off the food
traditional food,
source.
right?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
It's become traditional food. I mean, fry bread is what you think tradition. You go get some fry bread, right? But especially with the seed oils, right? Like, not only the glutinous flour, but now it's the seed oils we cook with. They're killer. They're killing us, right?
Yes.
And we don't talk about that in our community. But if we all had radio stations that isn't NPR, because NPR doesn't really want to NPR thinks it's the only one that can be a public radio station as well, just like CBC in Canada. I fought CBC tooth and nail to get 70% of Canada by radio. They were my biggest conflict. And I had to spend a lot of money just defending ourselves to say, look, why can't we be a public radio station? Why can't Native people have their own? We have a lot of information to share with the world. let us share it, man. We got good stories that'll help you live. This planet wasn't meant to die at the end of the Bible. It was living to live beyond the Bible. You guys can't get it together. You got the Muslims and the Jews and the Christians fighting each other, and they're all from the same book. I could never
Different
understand it. It's all the
different
same
branches of
book.
the same tree. Yeah.
Yeah, and just get along, man, and stop messing up and let us do our thing here.
But our thing is dangerous because food sovereignty is like the highest form of anarchy. Cutting off food was
Right?
assimilation, right? Like us getting our shit together and living the way we know how is a threat.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's corporate threat, but even those are all falling. I mean, for years I was a whole food shopper, and then I started looking deeper and deeper and doing some research and finding, well, no, I can't shop there no more, man. You guys aren't what you set yourself up to be. Nobody is.
That's marketing.
Yeah, it's all marketing, and who cares, right? They don't really care. They act like they care, but in the end, it's just another corporation trying to get your dollar, right? And so you're best to grow your own food. That's the trick. But you can't do what I try to do and grow your own food. Although, if I had a movable camera, I'd take you out to see my corn in my front yard. It's going great.
How cute.
My
Do you
corn.
is it Uncle Corn?
Oh yeah, I got blue and white corn. White corn's our main corn. In fact, my cousin supplies most of the white corn to my community, Daryl Farmer, and a shout out to Daryl for all his work. Um, and there's several farmers that do supply corn for us, but white corn was our prolific crop, right? I mean, if you see what we do is we grow the corn, and if you grow the Tuscarora corn, it's a good length like that. It's the most prolific corn we have is the Tuscarora white, and um, and then you can get 270 seeds from one seed. And so you take off them seeds when it dries, and then you cook it in a hardwood ash, and that releases the amino acid, and it becomes a total protein, right? Like
Oh,
you don't.
really? It's a complete protein by itself?
Yeah, it
That's
doesn't. It's not
crazy.
the starch. And then corn doesn't have gluten in it, right? Which is causing us a lot of issues. Gluten is killing us as well. And I'm just finding a lot of this out as I go along in life, and I had to change my diet because I got a disease that needed attention, and so I've learned so much in my elderly years about going back to nature. Right? It just makes so much more sense when we
So
can.
we can do like a whole gardening aging podcast with, going from uncle to elder with Gary Farmer on
Well,
this week's edition.
I don't think
But
of myself as an elder. I really don't because
well,
you
you're
know I
wise
can speak,
enough.
I can speak Scanos Maguego Negaso Hayantras, one is real wetne, no goes quite diesel, which simply means, is there peace in your heart? Hello, everybody. My name is He Who Plants, which, I always plant something every year. And it's a beautiful sunny day, and I thank creation for that. So that's the extent of, I can go into my longhouse and understand, but I can't speak because I haven't been home. I've been making movies to try and help the world understand us a little better. And so, I haven't been able to just pay attention and get culturally sophisticated like so many young people in my community are now. Our longhouses are packed now, and they all can speak the language because we started. See, when we started our radio station, there was 40 speakers of any one of our six languages. We got six indigenous plus Anishinaabe, and also Delaware is there. And we became six in 1712. We would have been nine had it not been for the Revolutionary War. The,
Interesting.
the Wyandots, the Tudlos, and the Delaware, Lenape, they call them often, it would have been nine. So we would have been 100 nations. And the thing, you see, Ben Franklin took his whole story from us, right? Except what did he not include? Women selected leadership. The women, the clan mothers, selected the chief. We had 50 chiefs that sat in a like a House of Representatives, like a Senate, and those 50 chiefs were chosen by women. Now, if America would have taken the whole story, they only took what they wanted and manipulated around it in their whole economic theories. And if they would have taken the women, we wouldn't be in this situation. But how close are we? We're this close to them realizing. And who are the two people that Trump beat in this competition? He beat two women because the
But it
world.
took ugliness. It wasn't a fair fight the way he beat those women. It took
No,
do you see what I'm saying? Like,
no, it's
if
all
it was a
corrupted
fair
now.
fight,
They're having a hard time controlling the dude, right? With the whole three-body legislative, judicial, the balance of power is being challenged because every day, and there seem to be kind of threading a little bit through it. And 4 years will pass fast, and if he doesn't somehow manage to change the policy, but if he does, even then, maybe a black man again will run and win, against them. But it's an interesting situation. I look at it with fascination. I can't be angry about it because I'm considered a Canadian, so I can't even vote, even though I urge and get paid sometimes to urge my Indigenous people to vote in this process. And but you know, whatever. I sit back and just try to analyze things and talk to myself about it, or I need to write more so I can get my book out.
yes, and we will also we during this little broadcast, people can comment live.
Oh, good.
So, I
I
want to
wonder about
read
that.
just a few of these comments um because Megan K.
Don't let the bad ones
Oh
stop you.
no, I don't encourage too much idiocy. So Megan K. Woodland Tribe, Bad River, and
Oh, I
so
love that
you
river.
and
Medewin Lodge. Yeah, right on.
when she was talking about when you were talking about hemp, she wrote Hempire. I fucking love that so
Exactly.
much.
Well, I started to finance a
Hempire.
series called Empire.
Oh,
I
I didn't
couldn't.
know it was a thing. I'm out of the
No,
loop.
I'm sure I just love the idea. It wasn't me. It was
Oh,
actually a camera person of mine who lives here in Santa Fe. One day we were just talking because I was making this. I'm trying to do a series, and then I turned it to a film, but I couldn't find financing. But it's called Empire, right? Which I truly believe in is the methodology, especially for indigenous peoples, because some of us have a lot of land, and we can plant, and we stop being farmers, and it's just a good thing. There are some movements in all around the continent, especially up in British Columbia, in Wisconsin. Indigenous Cannabis Industry Association, I should mention them. Uh, I was one of the members of that for a long time, and when I fell sick, I backed off some, but I'm coming back. But you know, I, you know, the cannabis thing on the getting high side is a little bit more complex for me. Uh, I lived by it for a long time, but I realized I'm better now without it, and so I don't mean to suppress that industry, but it is a method of economic development for the people, and it served a purpose in my life because it allowed me to deal with all the negativity I was facing as an indigenous person trying to make a career as an actor, and it let me chill. It helped me chill a bit and think a lot about what I was doing and where I'm going. But I find as an elderly person now, I don't need it that way. What I needed to do is to change the economics of the world for indigenous people so that we can grow the plant to use to build houses that we need. There's always housing issues in every native community on this continent. And and it's a cheaper way to do it rather than cut trees for wood. We don't need wood. Let the wood see. Hemp also takes more carbon dioxide out of the sky that is a big issue for us. The carbon dioxide, that's the issue from all the industrialization and everything else that creates dioxide, gas engines, blah, blah, blah. It takes more out than a full grown forest, hemp itself. Pulls it out. If you got radiated 591 abandoned uranium mines on Navajo Nation,
Damn.
and they outlawed the plant recently, like in the last 5 years. And if they grew it, it would help. It pulls out the toxins from uranium poisoning. And they're suffering big time. The children are suffering big time. There's children's cancer in Navajo Nation that we need to deal with, but nobody's talking about it, right? Because NPR can't talk about it. That's not their issue, right? They don't have radiated soil that they're living with after 591 abandoned mines in a fairly large. Navajo Nation is pretty big land-wise. So it's a big issue for us as Indigenous people because we all interact, right? We still trade. We still live with Navajo people, and they're suffering, right? And I'm suffering, from where I live. Who knows? I'm 30 miles from Los Alamos, where they blew the bomb. And where did they blow the bomb? Is my argument. They blew it. The biggest enemy they ever had was Geronimo and the Apache people. Where did they experiment with that Oppenheimer film? It doesn't tell you anything about where they blew that bomb off. You think, where is that? It was on Navajo people or on Apache people. It was on Mexican people. It was on Indigenous people. That's where they experimented with that bomb before they went and dropped it on the Japanese people. And where did they get that uranium? From the Dene in the Northwest Territories, and all their people died from it. In fact, I did another film called The Village of Widows, where the women from the Dene up in northern Northwest Territories went to Hiroshima and they were Nagasaki and prayed. They didn't know that their men were mining this plant, that they lost all their men that were in the mine. And so there's so much misinformation. I mean, I've been getting X-rayed up the wazoo for the last year for my illness, but yeah, it's got good. But let's look at the cost has been on the human condition. Let's look at that now.
But they're expendable because they're just Indians. Or they're expendable because they're in the way of progress.
Yeah, because they don't even look at us like human beings. In my career, I had to fight.
So that's what, like, one of my questions was. I mean, literally, this, like, me thinking about you in advance and doing questions is pointless because you just say stuff. I don't need to ask you anything. But so, people like to say, well, so much has changed. It's 2025. And I kind of wrote in my little notes, like, that long standing, what's changed and what hasn't. And you have like 50 years, 5 different decades of watching it change. So, and you talking about the amount of weed you have to smoke, the counterbalance, the amount of shit you feel from everybody every day, just trying to live a dream.
Right.
Like, what does it seem like things have changed on your end, or is it just still kind of a lot of the same old?
Well, we've changed. We've grown.
True that.
We've taught our young. Our young are strong. I'm proud of them, and I'm not sure what the outside of the Native community, what they've taught their young. I feel that their young they know what they see in front of them isn't right, but some of them can't help but participate because it's created a financial road for them. Right now, there's not many Indian people where, my family, my grandparents left me $500, I think. My parents didn't have anything to leave, and anything they left, I gave to my family, my sister. So we don't have that kind of inherited wealth. Inherited wealth even from China, all the immigration from China after Hong Kong went down, for instance, in Canada, they all came with money, right? So they can establish the Indians from India. They,
Hmm.
if they're a higher, most of the ones that come are higher caste. They have economics. They came with and they bought shit, right? They bought hotels, they bought motels, they bought whatever. They control stuff.
Yeah, and homes that support multiple generations.
Right, and they'll share that with their youth. We don't have that. You know, and I'm not sure that that's a reason, but we don't accumulate wealth. Anytime we try as indigenous people to accumulate any kind of wealth, like the whole fishing wars on both coasts, uh, they say we used to have hunting and fishing rights. Well, we got 25,000 square acres. They took everything away from us. We have the Haldeman deed in my tribe for siding with the British and beating off the Americans, and why Canada exists. They gave us 6 miles each side of a river. And the river is about 150 miles long, and we've got 25,000 square acres left. And that's a land claim for over 205 years that they were supposed to settle this past summer, but somehow they pushed it off, right? Because we got kind of a right wing government in Ontario, and so they managed to just push it away. But for my belief, I had hoped that we would build a hospital if we got, because we're not going to get land back necessarily, especially in the most populated region of Canada. I thought we might get enough money to put a hospital up so we can care for our sick. Because we go to these surrounding communities around my res, and there's 25,000 people in my community. It's not a small community. We don't get the same care. We get Indian Affairs care, which is not, it's like care here in the States, which is, what do you call that? I can't get it because I'm a Canadian Indian.
The Medi-Cal.
Well, no, that not even.
He's all not even.
Indian Health Services,
Oh yeah,
right?
that's yeah,
That's,
IHS and then Medi-Cal through yeah,
I mean, our medicines are stronger than that anyway. Our traditional medicines,
I
which
believe it.
and the closer that our indigenous medicines get to the Western medicine concepts, the better off we'll all be. White, black, yellow, pink, or green. And so I can see that happening bit by bit, where I've actually gotten healed from body work, from healers, from people who know outside of the medical system. I found more strength there with Indian medicines and natural medicines and a natural way, holistic concepts of touch and feel and emotion and love than you would from chemotherapy. Like,
Yes.
so there's so much that we've learned, I think, is indigenous communities, but we can't share it. We got nowhere to share it unless we get a deal from Netflix to do something, but they're not buying, right? Nobody's buying now.
But
They're
here's
all
the thing too. Our history isn't validated until like a non-native PhD says it too. Our medicines aren't acknowledged unless some study says, "Oh yeah, this is effective." Our stories aren't relevant if they conflict with the existing narratives. Right?
right.
Like
It's hard.
it's so, that's why we all have our reasons of using hemp, okay?
Right, right,
It's not
right.
just because we're trying to be actors.
No, exactly. No, it's just coping in this world that is against you and doesn't even recognize you and doesn't even think you're a human being, let alone, they don't even count us, right? Like, what did the CNN call us? The other, or the
Something else?
something else, right?
Yeah,
That's like 2024,
yeah.
23, 22,000 years into this whole situation before or whenever Christ happened, and there's more than one Jesus too. There's like a lot of them. He wasn't the only one. He wasn't the only prophet. there was several prophets, and, to think that there was only one in the whole world. Come on. We all had prophets, we had a modern day prophet, in our community called Handsome Lake, who was, had visions, and he clarified what we should be doing in order to cope with this invasion, right? And so it changed from the original concepts. A lot of the Longhouse picked up on that and used that new methodology of coping and surviving in this modern environment. So our cultures have actually elevated or revolutionized over time to deal with the infusion of Western culture or European culture or whatever culture is coming here now, you know.
So I like that the visions y'all are getting are helpful in integrating and things like that. Like the elders and, the our quote unquote prophets, the seers, the medicine carriers that I was raised with. It was literally like, well, 2/3 of everybody has to die for anything like good to happen again. So I
Well, it's
like
all about population control now,
I
though.
like your vision better though. It's way more pleasant than I'm sitting around filing my nails just waiting for them to drop like flies.
Right. Well, that's the plan, right? They got to have population control now, right? There's too many people on the planet. So that's the execution now. So when the administration decides to go bomb Iraq for, which I think is insane, like, anyway, uh, it's all about population control. And that's what it is for us, too. And that's what it is for the Mexican people who migrated here for logical reasons and helped us survive. I mean, you take that community away, and where's your food gone? You know?
But that's what this it even happened. We're everybody illegal, we're kicking them out. Oh, but don't mess with the hotel workers and the farmers. Like it's so unbelievably embarrassingly insane. Like
Yeah.
I'm probably just like meet strangers. Where are you from? I'm just gonna say Canada. Like I'm not a part of this. You know, um,
Sure, you can come be a Canadian.
it's flirping embarrassing though. Like, and
Yeah, it is.
we all try to understand crazy or to make crazy make sense, and then it's still just crazy. So one of the wise women at the Association of American Indian Affairs said, "Don't waste your time trying to figure it out. Just accept that it is."
Mm.
So, but I want to figure it out to fix it. I just want to
Yeah,
shake getting
that's all
all
we can
crazy.
do. We can offer, opportunities to people to make a better decision, especially when it's regarding our public health as Indigenous people on this continent, right? And that's it. We got to fight
Yes.
the concepts they presented us about, which they never had an interest for us to survive in the first place, but we have, and we've actually flourished. I
Yes.
think we've actually gotten healthier, as a nations of people in North America, and and no matter what they do, is can they stop that? Because it's only going to get stronger and stronger. More people are aware of colonization, even the word. I
Yes.
mean, back when I started, that wasn't even something you could even say. I mean, they wouldn't even think about that concept.
Yeah, the concept didn't exist. Yeah.
So much things have changed to the positive. I mean, even the whole acceptance of a man being a woman or a woman being a man, or I'm neither, or I have sexual preference here, or I have sexual preference there. I grew up in gay culture as an actor in the theater. I started in theater, and there was no, you know, we always joked about it in a fun way. I mean, you can't even tell those jokes now for fear. I was telling a Marlon Brando story, who I happened to work with and confronted about anime aquash, actually. And he didn't want to talk about it, right? Like, that whole situation where she ended up in a shallow grave with no hands, and and all that. And that became a big journalistic story in my day because she was from Nova Scotia, grew up and kind of educated in Boston, and became a part of the American Indian movement through that whole thing. And so I got educated to all that. I mean, when 1973 happened, I corrupted the Canadian government to study at Syracuse University. So I said I wanted to be an FBI agent when the FBI corrupted the American Indian movement, along with the CIA and every other influencer type agency that infiltrated the American Indian movement to dissolve it, just like the Black Panthers and all the other movements that existed. The brown derbies,
Berets.
the brown berets, that
Yeah.
whole movement, all these, basically indigenous movements.
Gary, I have stories. I have stories that about leaders and the FBI that I'm sitting on and that I don't know what to do with because I don't. It's insane. It's insane.
Well,
And there's
how did they get these ICE guys to go around doing what they're doing right now? I mean, aren't they thinking? I mean,
they
how
can't.
can
They're not paid to think.
So it's just like, just like a filmmaker said the other day, 1/3 of us would kill the other 1/3 while 1/3 watch, which is basically Nazi Germany. It's the same
Yes.
situation, and
But Hitler got
being
his
confronted with it.
playbook.
I
Hitler
think
got a
we'll
lot of his
survive it.
playbook from America.
Yeah. It's an old scheme, but he's trying to execute it. But I'm having faith that the
Okay.
balance of power is going to be challenged, and it has been. Even in the public land situation in New Mexico, we made some decision within the Senate that allowed us to make. And Montana, those guys said they sold out. Okay, we'll vote yes on this if you let Montana keep its public land. So God bless the Northern Cheyenne and the Crow Nation, that they're in a place that still very red state that managed to keep their public lands, which is Custer's last stand, I guess.
I'm glad that you have faith. Because a lot of
You got
times I'm
to
like,
have faith.
I'm gonna be living in a lava tube with my 4 cats doing pirate resistance radio.
Yeah.
Like
Good.
I don't know how else to plan for retirement except for that.
Yeah. And it's not going to succeed long term, right? I mean, even the plan, this one that I heard on the public radio, she says, well, half of them believe that they're going to get, what do you call them? The Christians believe in the
I'm all evacuated. The rapture.
Right. So the rapture is like 50% of them. And then the other ones are planning to leave the planet, right? And then in a way, I always, if you look at the prophecy of the Hopi, we will end up back with
stars.
It's going to be somewhat. We can always heal the earth, right? I just saw this piece where they can see when you plant trees, which we need to plant, right? If you spread these seeds around, the birds will eat them, right? But if you put them in this little nugget that the birds don't like, and then when the rain comes, it washes them into the soil, and so the trees start to pop up again. So you could just, instead of throwing bombs around America, just throw trees around, and let's revegetate the earth to create the oxygen again that we need to sustain.
And it seems like a lot of this insane behavior may be because of lack of oxygen.
Right.
So I'm throwing that out there.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all we needed all along was just oxygen
in
the brains.
People, especially my own people. I have a lot of faith in them. And we're dealing with so many issues, I don't even want to talk about it in terms of, even there's even a progress on the new drugs out there, the pharmaceutical drugs. Oh, the addicts are realizing, hey, this is death row. Why am I doing this? Well, I don't even know the name of them, but everyone's shooting this and shooting that. But they're figuring out there's less now than there was 5 years ago, right? So even addicted people are realizing this is death's row. So I'm not going to do that. So in another modification, I mean, hemp does play a role there, to help people move on from their addictions, right? And the addictions comes in all form. Pharmaceuticals, sure. Yeah, cocaine, sure. Heroin, sure. But there's also food addictions. There's
Mhm.
also sugar addictions. There's so many addictions to life that we face, and as you grow older, you learn more and more about it. If you don't stop growing, that's the what I want to end up today by saying that sure, you're going to face all kinds of shit. You might not have a penny in your pocket, but just keep learning from those experiences and grow. Don't stop growing as human beings. Don't give up. Just keep.
I'm gonna feel that and let it sink in because we are not alone in this. We come from community, we come from resilient people, we come from creative people, we come from loving, intelligent people, right? There's no reason for us to get sucked into the void of despair.
That's right.
Um
It's not so
damn.
bad. It's not so bad being sober. It's good.
But all of addiction is a lack of a coping skill. So the more that you can tiptoe back into coping with the shitstorm of reality, the more you can step into that sobriety and see your true strength.
Well, the thing is that even when you reach that state where they put you, institutionalize you, trying to deal with your supposed mental issues, they don't even use nature. And nature would heals people,
Oh
not
yes.
institutions. So go get yourself in the bush. Just sit there among the trees and pray. Burn your tobacco, burn your sage, burn your cedar, burn your sweetgrass, and just stick with it. It's the bushes heals, nature heals. Institutions don't heal what ails us. And most of the people in institutions in America are because they don't have health care. They lack their thyroid is messed, especially in women.
Yep.
You don't get your thyroid taken care of, it's going to drive you crazy. And they're going to institutionalize you. Because why? Because you got no medical care? Man,
Or
come on.
nobody's taken the time to look at you, to truly look at you and see what could be the problem.
Yeah. And
It's
and they don't care because it's a cycle of a job. It's a job to people. It's not about care or love. It's about creating an economy for themselves. They don't necessarily, if they don't have supposed crazy people, they don't have a job, right? So when I tried to offer some support that way, he said, "What are you trying to take my job?" I said, "No, of course not. I got a job, if I need one. I go talk on the Red Hoop Talk. You know,
you're so
I'm
good.
okay. I don't need. But I'm just trying to offer a suggestion. This lady needs help with her thyroid, or she wouldn't be a screaming poet. If you don't want her to scream in your ear, help her out. Like that's all.
Well, and that's the thing too, Gary, as a woman. I'm an angry ethnic woman, or you're just hysterical, you're a woman, or what do you know, you're a woman, or it's not just am I
No
indigenous.
imagination. That's
You
for
know what I'm
real.
saying? There's this added so you get treated like shit and then you get mad about it. But if you're mad about it, then you're just needy, or it's oh my god, the just shit show of tap dancing I have to do to be acknowledged as a
Right.
human. It's insane.
I think you're doing good, though. You're doing real good.
Oh, but that's what, the car's for, where you just drive and cry,
Right.
like a normal person.
Or walking cry. Let's have
Gary,
some more comments. Could you give us some more feedback?
oh yeah, okay, you like it? We got a
Yeah.
lot. Okay, so I'm kind of upset with Megan K because she's leaving these long comments and I'm old and I can't see. So let's see. Let's see what our friend said.
Yeah.
So Megan K, there's an awesome example in Milwaukee and lots of other places I see popping up more and more all the time. This place in MKE I'm talking about is a mental emotional health survivor support empowerment remember healing, and the board is making sure it is funded for the next 7 generations.
That's good.
So um some real seventh fire prophecy vibes, getting the elders to talk again and the youth are just choking it up. that's
Hmm.
that's what I'm talking about. Rudolph says, great to see you. We got a LinkedIn user. That's all it says is LinkedIn user. Believing those who think they have the power to own a piece of the earth and allow you to take up space is the first problem. Treaties will continue to be broken. You're right, Gary. Generational wealth, though laying our own healthcare infrastructure, schools, food systems is the key. We're coming, the seventh generation.
Yes.
So, um, Shannon, our friend Shannon, called you a healthy uncle because you're talking about changing your diet. And then a lot of just, feedback on community radio rocks. Woohoo.
Yeah.
And but in this indigenous world, in the unseen world, in the invisible world, what we talked about was in conversations I had yesterday with people that have nothing to do with you or care about my show.
Right.
So after what I heard and after what you said, this stuff's brewing and you and I are going to talk later because I didn't know anybody else was on the same page. And I'm meeting all these people that are passionate about radio, and
Yeah.
radio as tribal communication is cultural,
Yeah.
right? So
Because where
all
else can
these,
you? How else can you proliferate? Or proliferate? That's a new word. Proliferate our languages if it wasn't on radio,
yep,
right? Nobody else is going to air it, right?
nope.
Nobody else is interested, and it's only our community that's interested in our languages, our Anishinaabe language. Our what's your first language?
English and then Choctaw.
Choctaw, right? The Choctaw language. It's
Choctaw.
it's our communities that are going to keep those and that's happened in our community because we started a radio station, I don't know, 35 years, well, during Oka 1990, so it's 35 years this year. And the reason we did that was because we weren't getting the news that we knew was true. So because our point of view is different than the mainstream media or the public media even, you know I
Yeah, I was
mean,
KVMR sent me to Standing Rock before your girlfriend Amy Goodman showed up because I knew from
I
people
don't
coming back from ceremony getting the word of this, right?
yeah.
So it enabled me to get there to share the truth. You love her. No, so
No,
okay.
I mean, she's
So
just
we
one
do member
example. There's
drives,
many broadcasters that I love, of course, but
but
you being one
we
of them, Jennifer Robin, one of my
oh
favorites.
but we auctioned a lunch with Amy Goodman away one year for a member drive.
Okay.
So maybe next time we can auction off a lunch with Uncle Gary and Amy Goodman.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to meet Amy. I've
Be
never
a
met him.
big no, I'm just picking on you. I think it's cute.
Yeah.
I think it's cute.
Well,
Well,
journalism, I love journalism. And
it's
we
so
need to
important.
support our journalists, which I'm actually presenting at the Indigenous Journalists Association and during Indian Market, the Friday before Indian Market in August. That must be August 15th. The journalism, I've always been a fan of Native journalism and and the fan of our own journalism in terms of our radios and our newsprint, which is still alive and well. So I'm a, I was a journalist. I feel like I am a journalist. I published a magazine called Aboriginal Voices for 10 years. I founded a national radio network called Aboriginal Voices Radio. And, I won the license for the Aboriginal People's Television Network, which is probably one of the most successful Indigenous networks around the world when you look at it. So I'm really proud of my journalistic nature as an actor. And I've used it, when I take a role, I do the work on it. I find out what's really shaken, and I try to present that truth through the lines I'm given. And sometimes I'll manipulate a few lines when it's necessary.
I was gonna make a joke about that, but,
Go for it.
I no, well, journalism is important, but honestly, if I could pick my job, I just wanna be like Wendy Williams or Oprah and just get the juicy gossip
Right.
and find out, like, who's doing what, where, with who, and why. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm sure I'd like to
Well,
do
that's
important
that's a
work,
form
but
of journalism. That's a form of journalism. I mean,
I want the who broke up, who made up. I want that
mm,
scoop.
yeah, yeah.
I I want the dirt. No, I'm kidding. But it is, and it's even again in your lifetime watching media change so much to where
Mm.
it's one voice, we got the Associated Press. If it doesn't come out of there or one of the three major networks, four major networks breaking it, it doesn't matter.
Well, they've all been corrupted, unfortunately.
Yes.
So that's
So,
why the smaller the organization in terms of native media in communities or in small towns is vital for us to do the research. Because if they're polluting my river, National
yeah.
Public Radio or CBS is not going to give a hoot. So it's up to me as a citizen to help other people in my community understand what's going down here. Right? That's your responsibility as a human being, not necessarily as a journalist, but as a storyteller. You got to tell that story. It's got to be told, and if you can't get financing to tell it, you got to do it on your own and survive and tell it. Make sure you tell it. Don't that's what makes the world go around. It's not just the professionals. It's the small town people that care that are going to make the changes we need to survive on the planet. Right?
No, I'm just you're articulating it very well, and I feel like you're leaving us with a sense of hope. Um,
Yeah.
and I think once you get out of the fear and you take breaths and your brain's fully working,
Once you
we
lose the fear, you have fun.
yes,
You
and
enjoy life again.
we can find solutions.
You don't have to worry. There's not much you can do about the larger issues. There's not much we can do about the sky. There's not. But
Watch me try.
we can take care of our own. You know, my little family here in New Mexico. I can help there. And my little family back on Six Nations along the Grand River. Haudenosaunee territory. I take care of that. You know, I share what I know.
Well, we greatly appreciate you sharing with us a fraction of one corn kernel of what you know, what I know you know. But Gary Farmer, where can your fans find you? Where's the best place to stalk you?
Well, I don't know. I'm afraid of social media anymore.
Yeah.
But I'm on Instagram as Gary Troublemaker
Yeah.
_ official.
Okay. So just the Instagrams. And is
And that's
there
and I'm
like,
on LinkedIn.
okay. So LinkedIn is a good place if people want to reach out or hire you or just get some of your uncle wisdom.
Yeah, yeah. I'm around. I got a busy summer. It's going to be a lot of fun. I got some interesting projects I'm working on.
Oh, so I do want to say before I let you go, what is it? Okay, so I'm an old lady, I'm getting there. But I was doing oh, I loved you in that one thing, with that one girl, the one. So I pulled it up to make sure I didn't do that to you. I loved The Curse.
Oh wow.
Was it with Emma Stone?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the way it was your role as a person of authority,
Right.
right? Was huge. And then the tap dance around appropriation and some, non-native wanted to friend you because you're so interesting. And can I put your art in this thing? Like I just encourage people because it really properly personified and articulated that weird, gross thing we feel as Native people on how people approach or interpret us, or how safe are we putting art out into the world because of how it's going to be interpreted. Or, I thought the curse was great.
Cool. The creator has got another show out there, Nathan Fielder. He's got another similar show. Emma probably could have come back and done another season, but she's got a lot of interesting projects in her.
But that's why I like you, because I feel a little bit more proud when I see you in roles, and a little bit more, this person is totally being made into a token. So I like how storytelling is making me feel better and feel heard, or that somebody's able to write a script to articulate that delicate weird dance of fine art and being indigenous and appropriation. And so I just thought I thought
Okay.
it really, it got me in places I didn't expect that it would,
Yeah,
because of your typical just kind of native non-native narratives that go around. So high five to you, little Nathan.
yeah, for sure. And do I wanted to make people aware again, the Santa Fe International Film Festival. You can find it on the internet. We still have some submissions open if you're a filmmaker, or please submit to. We have several categories. We have a brand new green category this year that's specifically about, you know, environmental issues. So, but please submit to us, and we honor your submission and your work, and we'd like to see it. We got over 100 people screening these films, and collectively deciding what we'll show this year. But we show films all through the year, so if we don't necessarily show it during the festival, we'll show it in another spot that is appropriate. So I really wanted to give that a big push. And we're on Film Freeway, so this search is
Yes.
in there for your submissions. And I'll give
And
all
then,
the people here, if
yes.
you put, when it comes to paying, the pay, I'll give you a free code that helps you submit, make it one word, Indigenous 25 is my effort to give to filmmakers that they can submit to our festival for no cost. So
Cool.
yeah, Indigenous 25, one word.
So are you aware of, like, what you're where you're on TV right now? Because I wanted to promote, like, the Resident Alien season 4. It comes out next week.
No, it's been on since June 6th.
Oh, I thought it was
So,
July.
no, it's June. So the fourth episode will be on, today's Thursday. So the fourth episode is in on tomorrow, and the time has changed on the USA Network. And there's very few original programs on the USA Network. We're trying
It
to
used
bring
to have so much.
everybody back to cable. But
No,
we're also on the Sci-Fi Network, and we're also on Netflix.
Hulu.
The first three seasons are on Netflix, but and the fourth season will eventually be on Netflix. But the time has moved from 11 Eastern to 10 Eastern, so it'll be 8 o'clock here now in New Mexico, and 7 o'clock there in California. But I would have been in 10 episodes this year, but my illness kept me out. I'll be in 5 episodes, and I have an original song called uh, geez, uh, "Let Love Come to You." It's going to be screening on episode 5, and so I'm in
Yay.
episodes 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. So
Well, and my gal pal Ray Zaragoza, her music has been featured in every
I know
season.
she's wonderful, Ray.
Yeah, she's like a huge part of this little community. She was coming in here when she was just wearing t-shirts,
She's so
looking all
special. What a
chill, and
great
now
singer.
yeah, now she's a,
Songwriter.
but that's the community. We get these amazing intimate relationships.
I just saw her dad in a short film.
That's awesome. I interviewed her mom live on air. I was like, I'm going to
Yeah,
call your mom. And she's like, do it. So we did. We
yeah.
interviewed her mom and dad on air.
Nice. She's special. Yeah, she's played a lot in our series, as has our little sweetheart from Oklahoma. She,
Samantha Crane.
yeah, Samantha's music's playing big this year too, so that's cool.
See, I know my ladies.
And a shout out to my songwriting partner for that song, Derek Miller, fine artist. You know.
I love Derek Miller's been on the program
Really
here. Yes.
excellent.
I he must have been stressed about the government because he seemed to medicate before our interview, and I had him cracking up. Like I'm pretty sure he peed his pants.
Oh, good.
And so
He's a lifelong friend of mine, and
he is a joy to pick on.
yeah,
Oh, I love to just poke that bear. He feels like, you know what I mean? He feels like a brother or uncle that I was born to just torment.
yeah,
And I love him. So I don't know why I annoy him so much on purpose because I deeply care. But for
yeah.
some reason, I just have to make sure he leaves crazy.
He's a wonderful producer, the most amazing guy for making records and creating his own music.
Is he still doing the APTN? What was his
No,
show?
no, he let that go a few years back. It's been 3 or 4 years.
I found my
Maybe five.
t-shirt the other day. He sent me a season 3 t-shirt.
Oh, good.
And so like years ago, years and
Yeah,
years ago. So I
I
think
think he already
about
did 3 seasons. But we're performing together for those fans at the Ganondigan uh, music. Well, it's a festival of all kinds, but there's musical performances, and we'll be in Victor, New York, at the Ganondigan Historic Site, which is an old Seneca community just south of Rochester, New York, on the last weekend of July. I think it's
ooh,
25, 26. I'm not sure. But we'll be there doing a show a day, 45 minutes or so, hour or
that's
so
awesome.
on each day. But there's a wonderful festival. And it's a beautiful facility if you've never been. Ganondigan Historic Site in Victor, New York.
So
Victor.
when you do stuff like that, do you like meeting your fans or signing stuff or you got merch and things? Like if like are you a diva and you just go back to your green room or do you like interacting with your
Oh,
festival
no.
pals?
I'm an interactor kind of guy.
Okay.
Well, the theater is a different thing. I don't like seeing the audience before the show much, unless it's set up that way. But the theater, I'm a much more private guy. But after the show, yeah, I'm all over you if you stick around. But otherwise, I'm a very public, affable kind of dude who hangs out and
Okay.
enjoys feedback. I always, I feed from you guys. You're the audience.
Well, I didn't want to be like, go hang out with Gary Farmer, and you're like, like don't.
Well, I'm a private person too. I mean, I'm not that social really, but I am. You know, but it's gotten so I can't even go to a powwow anymore, right? Because I'll be taking pictures with every family, and which is cool. But if it's a large powwow, like the Gathering of Nations, I'm basically working. So I always got a bag of goodies to try and sell.
Yep.
Of course, anyone who still has a CD player, I'm pretty old school,
I
and
need them. I need something to touch and read and look at.
yeah,
I prefer even records because the font is bigger.
and of course with Powwow Highway going into the Library of Congress this year, I still have original DVDs of Powwow Highway for those that would like them.
Save me
So
one. I'll Venmo you.
okay, I don't even
Prettiest,
know.
please.
I think I got Venmo. I don't even do those things. I usually ask for like
Okay, I'm gonna stick
mail order.
$20 in an envelope and then mail it to you. Are you
Exactly.
happy
Yeah,
now?
that's what I do.
Is it Canadian or USD? What do I?
USD. Yeah, of course. Sending mail to Canada these days is expensive. So,
So I feel terrible because I could keep you for hours
yeah,
and hours.
I should
So
go.
what I'm
I'm
gonna
going to the
do
gym. I'm going to the gym now.
is I'm just gonna have you on the program again so we can talk about other stuff that we didn't get that because you are now like if you started a cult, I'm 85% sure that like you would get some followers. That's all I'm gonna say. You're very wise and I'm all in.
Well, there'd be 3 or 4 for sure. I think.
So as long as we're allowed to wear clothes, I'll join that cult.
Yeah.
Gary Farmer and the Troublemakers all over the I found you on Spotify, Face YouTube, all that. So Gary Farmer and the Troublemakers is your music. And then Gary Farmer on Instagram, but a list of all your accolades on IMDb. Did
Yeah.
I cover all of it? Just send you a smoke signal, you'll get it.
Yeah. Basically, I'm not that sophisticated that way, but no website, no nothing. But
It's good. It
I'd
keeps
love.
you
Can we close out
mysterious.
with the music video? I'd love to do because I shot that in my community.
Yes.
Let's
So,
close out
okay,
with that.
I'm going to play real quick some promos while I
Okay, good.
get that set up for you. And I think it's already in there in one of the promos. So, yeah, give us a second here, kids, and we shall be right back.
Join the Everything Back movement and purchase a Cultural Sovereignty Protector shirt today. A Cultural Sovereignty Protector is an advocate who is working to create a world where diverse Native cultures and values are lived, protected, and respected. Cultural sovereignty means having control over those things that make us who we are as Native peoples. Everything Back is our movement to return those things that make us who we are so that we can heal. Purchasing one of our Native-designed limited edition shirts demonstrates your commitment to human rights and equality. Visit indian-affairs.org to check out all of the colors and styles in stock today.
Everything back.
All right.
Okay, so which I just have two things here and they just say real. So there's not anything specific, but I also have the Hoka Hey teaser.
Okay.
Is that what it is? Or your
Yeah. I was looking
uh
for Cadillacs Don't Care, the music video, I guess.
yeah, so all I have that I was sent is the film reel 5:15 and 11:31.
I see. I thought you were going to download the. I would have sent it to you, but I thought you might have
Oh,
downloaded
see, I
it.
thought you were gonna send me stuff because of the downloading. But guess what, Gary? If you
Well,
wanna if you wanna tell us a little story real quick, I can absolutely or
yeah.
let's do this because I
Well,
can't keep you forever. So what is where is the video?
it's on YouTube.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna let everybody know where to find it. So YouTube.
Yeah, and then go Cadillacs Don't Care, Gary Farmer and the Troublemakers, because my music doesn't get like I can't load a song of mine on Instagram. I can't figure that out, but maybe some young person will help me figure that out.
No, and
A
there's
lot of my
also
good stuff is on YouTube. A lot of my music is on there.
well,
And
when we set up so tomorrow this is up for podcast. So this video lives on and then there's podcast. So in the write up for the podcast, we will have your Cadillacs Don't Care
music
link.
video. Yeah.
Yep. The problem is like I can't spell, okay? Um so but we will have the links to the Cadillacs Don't Care Gary Farmer
Yeah.
video and
Directed by Travis Schilling, wonderfully, and shot.
oh, that's awesome.
Beautiful partner.
So I think that you are a 2-season biography documentary all by yourself.
Yeah, they've been after me for that, but I'd sooner do Empire,
Well,
the documentary film. But I want to write the book first before I do my little life story on film. So I got to write the book, and I finding time to do that is challenging. And everyone and their sisters offered to help me, but it's got to. I just I can do it. I just got to get down to it, and I have an offer. I just got to come up with 10 pages that would encourage me to write it. So
but isn't it I get well, see, I'm the opposite. I'm a talker. I find writing difficult, but
I could
wouldn't
talk
it
it out some, but
But that's what I mean. Like, wouldn't it be easier to talk about it and then go to the book? Or
Yeah.
you find it
Well, I try to collect these interviews, so that helps me because then I can say, "Oh, geez, that was interesting." So I translate the interviews. So I collect the ones that I do, the podcasts and such. I ask them to send me a copy, and then I'll, you know, my partner helped me type it up, and then I use that as the basis too. So I like using that as going, "Oh, this is what happened then," but this is all contemporary stuff, and I've been around for 50 years, so getting back to the old stuff is cool. That's nice. Yeah, and we wrote that song. Well, to me, the Cadillac is a image of imperialism, right? Like it was always the car, right? And before all the imports came in, and so we had this car that just didn't care in front of us when we were on tour up in Northern California, actually. Uh, Corvello, you know
yeah,
Corvello?
Covello,
They have a big
Covelo.
Covelo, yeah, and
Sorry, we got there. I just kept. What's that? What?
so that song came from that community.
Okay.
Cadillacs don't care, and it means different things to different people now. But the music video I shot in my community with my band extraordinary from my Eastern band, I guess, because I have a New Mexican band. It's different makeup, but it was a wonderful tour we did, and that culminated with the making of this video. So I really appreciate you all taking a look at it.
I love it. Yeah, and we're gonna get you back on FM so we can focus on Gary Farmer, the music maker, the
Oh,
music
cool.
man. And
I just wrote a new song and I produced it yesterday, day before.
when do we get that? Or when we get that?
It's called Beautiful Day. I'm not sure. I have to, I got to play it out a bit. So I'll
Okay.
play it all live. I'm playing through Indian Market four nights, 4 days,
Okay.
14, 15, 16, 17 of August, all in Santa Fe in the region, and Albuquerque,
That's wonderful.
one show. But all the rest are in New Mexico at clubs well, I'm playing at Buffalo Thunder. There's another Indian Market up at the Buffalo Thunder Resort up in Powwow. So I'll be playing a show there Sunday afternoon.
And is all that on your Instagram? Do you make announcements when you're
I,
gonna
I'm
do
just working
something?
on a bit of a poster because I'm just doing those 4 shows exclusively right now,
Nightmare.
and I got a lot of fluctuating members in the band, so and I got a lot of new material, so I'm working with the band on new stuff, so it's a lot of fun. I love it's one of my great loves is writing music.
Well, you better keep us
I'm not that good.
posted.
I'm no Derek Miller, that's for sure. But I have a conscious soul, and so I think about things that. And this one isn't necessarily about consciousness. It's more about survival and love and moving on. Yeah. So
Oh,
that's cool.
we get your wisdom in a melody form.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a cool song. You'll love it. I'd play
Hey,
it for you right now if you want.
if you can, I don't I feel bad putting people on the spot. Like show us like a talent show. Dance now.
Well, no, it's something I've already done. I don't know how well you'll hear it, everybody. It's a beautiful morning, oh yeah. It's been a rugged road to say along the way, but we must keep our heads held high, oh yeah. And don't you fear the future now, oh no. That's all you get.
I love it.
The what do you call them? The MP3s don't stick on the phone for the whole song. You got to keep.
Oh, and I don't know with like the what people can play because of us being on a pod. I don't know. We'll get to the music stuff.
On the radio.
Yeah, on the radio.
Please
So
please hype your station. Is that on your ad there? KV.
oh no, well we're broadcasting out of KVMR Studios in Nevada City, California, north of Sacramento. This big weird poster. So
Yeah.
Yes, and my program is Resilience Radio every week, Native music and talk, but I can't curse because the FCC. So I have to be a little bit. I have to think about what I say first.
Yeah, and
It's hard.
play music. Do you?
Yep. So
Yeah. And
as
you're on,
long as
and
yep,
we can
every
get it
week.
on. We can listen online. Does the station stream?
Yep, kvmr.org. You can listen live. So when we schedule our little thing, people can tune in and then it's archived for 2 weeks. So they have
Okay.
2 weeks to listen to. So we could do a whole in-depth music scape
Oh,
of
let's
Gary
do that.
Farmer.
Yeah. But do send me that email so I can stream your show. When are you on it? What day?
Every Thursday, 10 a.m. to noon Pacific time.
Nice. And I can
Resilience
stream it
Radio.
live when you're
Yes. Yes.
okay.
So it's live radio that you guys can stream live or listen later. So I'll send you all that stuff
Okay, cool.
and we'll just continue the many signs of Gary Farmer. You are not a troublemaker. I will tell you that right now. It should be Gary Farmer and the wise elders.
Nah, that's too, I don't know.
It sounds like the worst, huh? But I
Well,
just
they always refer to Native people as trouble. We were always thorn in
yes,
their side.
savages
So
in
I
the way of
just
progress.
embraced it, right? I just embraced it.
Yeah,
Originally, I
who
was
was
a
it?
classically blues band, right? So I played 50s blues music mostly, and I still do, in a longer session. But because I love, and most of our people, Haudenosaunee, we're blues people, right? We grew up with the blues, and I think that's part of that Tuscarora movement to the north too. Coming
Yes, the sounds came.
when our drum and their drum came together, it created blues and jazz, and we never get credit as Native America in that creation. And certainly Julia Keefe, who should be on your show, is prophesizing that for real.
Ooh.
We also did a film recently about Native blues called and jazz. It's called oh my god, it's not made yet, but I did the interviews for it and we performed for it. So that'll be coming out, which will be really interesting because they did at least 50 musicians
That's
Indigenous,
awesome.
uh, who work in jazz and blues and stuff.
Well, yes, somebody asked, oh, I didn't know he did music. What's his genre? And I just said blues rock.
Yeah,
I don't
but
know.
I won the only music award I've won is Best Americana for the New Mexico Music Association.
I don't know. I think
I never
genres are
thought of
so.
myself as an Americana artist, but I accepted the award.
No,
Great.
that's cool. But you can't, again, like art and music genres and categories, they don't work.
I hate
So,
genres. Yeah.
yeah. So that's what's, oh, well, what is he playing? I don't know. Just listen to him. I shouldn't have to explain anything. No, I'm kidding.
I often say when Derek and I used to play together and tour, we used to play a lot of pop music, so go figure,
But didn't Derek Miller and the Troublemakers?
Oh no, we're pretty bound at the hip. But Derek's got his own scene too, of course.
Didn't okay, so Derek Miller, doesn't he have an and the Troublemakers? So if it's Derek Miller and the Troublemakers, does that mean you?
No, it's usually Gary Farmer and the Troublemakers with Derek Miller.
I'm sorry.
It's a big title.
Too many names in my mouth right now.
Yeah, Derek is what the heck's he using these days? He's got a different bunch of handles, and I can't think of them right now. The Sexy Mofos is one of them.
Oh Lord!
Yeah, he's got different collections of music, and he uses different artists too. And of course,
yes.
He's actually producing a wonderful. I'll tell you a precursor to a new Keith Secola piece.
Yeah, that's what Keith said.
It'll be a small, it won't be a full CD of 10 songs or nothing, but it'll be a mini, and it's wonderful.
Well, it sounds like this troublemaker, me, accidentally ended up interviewing every troublemaker around you, the Kisicola, now you, and then tell Derek Miller.
And
Like,
Pure Fay often plays with a Murray Porter.
see?
There's a lot of them. Shakti Hayes,
I love it.
another troublemaker.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. Well, Gary Farmer, I don't know if you still need to go to the gym because I feel like as much as we talked, should have burned some calorie.
Oh yeah, no, I gotta keep the gym fitness up. It's
Well, but I appreciate you being
it's
here
a
with us,
discipline. It's a discipline.
and I appreciate you being disciplined in all your aspects. And this has just been a treasure and a treat.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. You're a pleasure. You're a
Gary,
wonderful host.
I don't even want to let you go, so I'm just gonna call you later on the way home. Okay. Well, you have a great one. Thank you so much. This is available on podcast form, and you can share this video anytime, and it shall live forever.
Okay, good. And thank you, Association of Indian Affairs.
Yes. Well, and our friend Shannon.
Yes, our friend Shannon, our mutual
So,
friend.
yep.
Thank you.
She done good. All right. You
Good,
take care of
good.
yourself. Chi Pizza La Chique. I love this